time. Good morning. Well, happy Friday. Happy September 29th of 2029. My name is Paul Gore with the Asian Chamber of Commerce. I'm the Director of Community Development here in Houston. And thank you for joining today as we cover a very pressing topic that may affect our local economy. Serving Houston's business community for over 33 years, our mission for the Chamber is to foster economic and business development opportunities through programs like this that we're having today. With 2 days left before a possible government shutdown, we're hosting this informational session to explain what happens if the government does shut down and how it may affect you and your business. Before we start, I just want to provide some resources that we are providing that the Chamber is doing. We are part of the SBA Community Navigator Pilot Program. It's a free resource for our community at large, offering one-on-one training, technical assistance, and counseling hours and marketing and financial things. If you are in need of any type of resource, please just go to our website and schedule an appointment with our SBA or Community Navigator Pilot Program with Nikki and Soli, that they can be able to assist you in any needs that you have. The other thing is we have an orientation for those who want to know about the Chamber. It's next Friday. 6 is free. It's in person at our office from 10 to 11 to find out how the ACC can help you in your business as you grow. In 3 weeks, we're celebrating our 33rd year here in the Chamber. That's one way where the whole community comes together and celebrate the spirit of entrepreneurship. We invite you to come. And we invite you to celebrate and support. This is where we also raise support for what we're doing as a nonprofit. As you know, the Chamber is a nonprofit organization to help facilitate trade and our economic growth of our community. And lastly, we have our executive business program, something that you may want to participate in as a 9-week fast track learning environment intensive to really know the various disciplines of your business, something that we are offering. It already started, but we still have some room for those who want to do that. So I want to turn your attention back for housekeeping items here. I want to make sure you know we're going to do this presentation that we mute your mics and cameras, but feel free to ask and submit your questions in the chat box, and we'll address them and open the mics and camera during a Q&A. If you're representing press, please disconnect now. This is the informational session meant for small business owners. Please contact the Asian Chamber office for direct and related information. We are recording this so that we can make this available later on to help our business community thrive. There's a lot of pressing questions that's going on. And then the other thing I would like to say is that today we have Tim Jeffcoat, District Director at the Houston SBA office, who will be presenting on this topic and sharing information what could and may happen in the coming days that will affect the small business and economy here. So Tim, without further ado, you are the expert. You're the voice for our community as well to the government. So we're happy to have the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Paul. Let me get switched over to my slides.
Yes.
That's working.
Yes, it's coming up. Yep, there you go.
Okay, super. All right, good morning, everyone. So as Paul said, I'm the District Director for the Small Business Administration here in Houston. My name is Tim Jeffcoat, and I'm getting over a cold. I sound kind of funny, so bear with me. So what we're going to talk about today is the term that we use is a lapse in federal appropriations. So most of us colloquially call that a shutdown. You may be surprised to know that in the last 50 years, there have been 21 shutdowns. Of note, the last one of significance was 2019, lasted for 35 days. And you can see that the shortest of the long ones was 12 days. So I can't forecast what's going to happen, whether we will have a shutdown, excuse me, or if we do, how long it will last. But this gives you an idea of what the worst ones were in the last 50 years. And these shutdowns, unfortunately, are not all that uncommon. As you see, 21 in the last 50 years. If you are concerned about a particular federal agency, let's say you're getting Social Security payments, or you get some other kind of assistance from the federal government, you can go to this website, and Paul will have these slides that he can share with you. And at that website, you'll see pages that look like this right here. And there's about 6 pages of agencies. You can click on them. So for example, I'm just looking at the list, Department of Agriculture. So if you sell food-based products, or there's some other reason that the Department of Agriculture would be important to you, you can go there, you can read their shutdown plan and understand what they have going on. It's different for different agencies, but basically, when there is a lapse in appropriations, all federal employees are grouped into 2 groups. The vast majority are called non-essential. I am one of those. So when a shutdown occurs, I don't work. The ones that are called essential must work during a shutdown. So this breaks out who in the agency will be essential, who's not essential, and those kinds of things. Also on that exact same page is a frequently asked question guide. So you can go into this guide. It's quite extensive. It covers the basic principles of how a shutdown occurs, what happens to government contracts and government grants, how it affects our information technology, what an orderly shutdown is, and I'll talk about that a little bit, how this affects travel, payment, carryover funds, and then the use of charge cards. So it's kind of broken out there for you to be able to do some investigating. So the really key thing, though, is what happens, at least for me, what happens to small businesses when there's an appropriation lapse? Well, my boss, Administrator Guzman of the SBA, was interviewed just yesterday in Yahoo Finance. And what I have here on the screen are direct quotes of hers, and I'll put them in perspective as we go over them. So the first one, what happens when there's a shutdown? It will halt all of our SBA guaranteed small business loans. So those loans will grind to a halt. As she says, we put out about $40 billion a year. Now that's nationally. Here in Houston, I'll put it in different perspective. It's about $5 million every day, a little bit more than $5 million a day. And this is in an environment where there's tight credit and higher interest rates. So SBA loans are more critical than ever. That's going to be in effect. Anyone seeking or that has a loan application in process for an SBA loan, it's going to stop until the shutdown is complete. As her next quote says, each day of the shutdown, there will be hundreds of loans stuck. So they'll just sit there. Now, the other thing to be aware of is that even when we come back to work, it's going to take a few days or even a few weeks, depending on how long it could take a couple of months to get caught up on this log jam, because there will be quite a number of loans that are just stacked up waiting to be worked on. The third one, she says, a small business may have to go to a high interest bridge loan and pay fees that are exorbitant to manage their business. They might lose a deal or lose an ability to buy some equipment or buy property, and that will hurt businesses. Yeah, absolutely. If you're relying on that SBA loan and it doesn't come in the time you need it, then that will most likely affect the business. And in the interim, small businesses might feel like they need to go get some other loan just to bridge them until the SBA loan can get done. And those may be at unfavorable terms. The fourth bullet on here, bear with me a second. And the fourth bullet on here, one of the things that would also be halted is the processing of certifications to do government contracting. So businesses apply for certain kinds of certifications that can give them an advantage in getting federal contracts that can really exponentially grow their businesses. But it especially will hit veteran-owned small businesses, service-disabled veterans-owned small businesses, women-owned small businesses, and those businesses that are economically and socially disadvantaged. It's probably going to hit all of those, will hit everybody, but it'll definitely will hit those certifications hard, because that system will, again, grind to a halt. And they have dozens of applications every day, if not hundreds. So again, we'll have a logjam building of those applications over time for them to deal with when we come back to work. And the fact that those certifications are slowing or grinding to a halt limits competition in the federal marketplace that prevents businesses from moving forward. Another thing, a lot of businesses are already straddled with debt. They've had reduced revenues during the pandemic. They're starting to see the light and they're starting to recover. And then this disruption in the economy may not be helpful for their businesses. And then the administrator's final comment was that, so I think you probably know this, but if not, the SBA has a lot of resource partners. So these are organizations that we fund so that they can provide their resources for free to you. So here in Houston, that's going to be the SCORE organization, the University of Houston Small Business Development Centers, and we have 2 women's business centers, one with the Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce and one with the WBEA organization. So those organizations will continue to function, but we normally, not normally, we do have oversight over their activities, and we work regularly with them to affect the market, to affect all the small businesses as best we can. And in this duration of a potential lapse in appropriations, we won't be working with them. So that's just some highlights of the administrator's comments, and these are all public comments. You can go read them for yourselves. And as you see, I've shortened a few of the quotations just to make them more impactful for you this morning. You can read the entire thing, though, at that link that I have in the slide. Now, how does it affect Houston SBA, right here in Houston? Well, here's what happens. If this weekend there's not a decision made or a conclusion made that funds the federal government, then we stop. So the first bullet, I think, is really pertinent. This is the same as if your company ran out of money. Well, what happens? Well, you can't function. You close the doors, you lock it, everybody goes home. It's basically the same thing. It's analogous to that. There are definitely differences. We are the United States government. But that's fundamentally the same thing. So in practical terms, what does that mean? That means Monday morning, I will be meeting with my staff, and we will make sure that we do this orderly shutdown, and we'll probably be finished by about noon. That's normal. That means we turn off every SBA computing device and communications device. So we shut off everybody's computers. We shut off everyone's cell phones and desk phones. We can't take calls and we can't use our computers because we are no longer representatives of the United States government. We have to secure any public PII, personally identifiable information. Usually there's not very much of that in my office. It's usually all electronic, which is already secured. But if there are paper copies of things that might have information about you or some other business, then that gets locked away and secured in a safe place. We will cancel or postpone any upcoming events. If you know anything about my office, we do at least 10 things every day. So that will be as many as 300 of those, because we'll probably focus on making an announcement for the next 30 days. That doesn't mean I'm saying we will have a 30-day shutdown. Please don't interpret it that way. We're just making we're clearing the path for rescheduling or postponing for up to 30 days, just as a safety precaution. We can't do any SBA work once we're finished with this orderly shutdown. If you called me up, I can't talk to you about SBA. I can't represent the SBA. I can't make decisions for you based on SBA, and my staff can. We are temporarily not representatives of the federal government, so we can't speak on the federal government's behalf. And then finally, we'll make sure that there are messages on our emails and on our telephones that instruct the public that we are unable to work until the furlough, as a result of the lapse of appropriations, is complete. So we will not be getting paid in the process until the government reestablishes funding, at which time there is a law that says we will get back pay. So we will get paid for the time of the shutdown, but we won't be getting paid during the shutdown. The last big shutdown in 2019 was 35 days. So that was a long time for federal employees to go without knowing they have consistent income for their various bills. And then the hard part happens. Oh, that's easy. Then we come back to work. If it's only been a few days, not a big deal. But if we come back and it's been 30 days, let's say, we have a lot of catch up to do. We have 30 days of email, 30 days of loans, 30 days of contracts for small businesses, 30 days of lots of things to get caught up on, and then try to regain our momentum, because my office is one that operates at a fast speed, and it will take us a little time to get caught up. So for whatever time period the government is shut down, it'll probably take us at least that much time to get caught up before we can get back to what we were doing. In the 2019 shutdown, some agencies were affected much more dramatically, and it took them months to get caught up because of the tremendous volume of work that they do with the American public. So, Paul, that takes me through my main comments. Really not a lot to say other than we pray this doesn't happen. But if it does, we will know by Sunday, and then we will be coming into the office on Monday to do an orderly shutdown. Generally speaking, by about 1 p.m. Monday afternoon, most, if not all, federal agencies will be in this shutdown status.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for a very thorough aspect of what's going to be happening in the process. I'm going to open up the questions, but I do have some questions on our own. If you can just help explain, those who need to pay loans back to the SBA, are they going to have anything that you can give? Is that going to affect it? Is there payments that they need to still do that on a regular basis to make sure they're paying back?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. So as far as I know, there will be no change. If you have a loan with the SBA, you'll still need to be making those payments. And I think and realize I'm not speaking on behalf of all of the federal government. I can't. But if you have a student loan, if you have a loan with the USDA or some other financial obligation with the United States government, you're paying an IRS bill or something, and you've agreed to a series of payments over time, then this doesn't change that agreement. You should continue making those payments unless the agency that you have that financial obligation with instructs you otherwise.
Okay, yeah, so I guess those who had to do repayments of the idle loan and that those would affect. Okay, thank you. Any information do you have from your other counterpart agencies, like IRS or Labor Department? Meaning, if there's like a labor issue that during the happens to that, what do you think that they can do in disputes or anything that needs to be attended to?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, you have, and I said we'd talk about it more, and I knew we would with the questions. All federal employees, roughly 2 million, are grouped into, as I mentioned, they're grouped into essential and non-essential. Now, I don't know the exact percentage breakdown, but well more than 50% are non-essential. At SBA in the last shutdown, it was around 85%, maybe more, were unessential. So what that means is those people do not work and cannot work during the shutdown. So that roughly all agencies are like that. The possible exception is those that are involved with national defense. They probably have a different ratio of who's essential and who's not essential. But for the civilian agencies, it's probably something along those lines. So I think it's fair to assume that if you needed the Department of Labor to be involved with something in some dispute, or if you were going to the immigration court or something like that, I would think that they're going to be impacted. Will those things continue? They might. You'd have to ask that agency. If they do continue, will they continue at the same pace? And the odds are that they wouldn't. that because there will be so many people not working and that cannot legally work at all, then it just makes sense that the pace at which government executes will be slowed.
Okay. Yeah, and it will affect travel in some part, but I mean just the congestions of that, but the FAA will still be there, the TSA will still be there to facilitate so that travel can still happen. Is that correct?
Well, that's true. That's true. So the TSA workers, for instance, are classified as essential. Maybe not all of them, but the way I understand it, a significant percentage are classified as essential. But uh, they aren't getting paid. So they're getting up and they're getting in their car and they're buying gasoline and they're driving to work and they're buying lunch and et cetera, but they're not getting a paycheck in the process. So I certainly can't speak for TSA or for those TSA agents who do admirable work keeping our airports safe. But I recall that in the 2019 shutdown, that it was not uncommon that some were calling in sick because it cost them more to go to work than they felt it justified at the time. There were rumors of people taking separate jobs or nighttime jobs, et cetera, to be able to pick up some money during the shutdown. Many people live paycheck to paycheck, so that could complicate things. I would like to say that I don't think it will be all that bad, but I don't know. But as a parallel to this, though, what about the port? We have
Mm.
a very large port in Houston. Well, I don't know with other agencies what their plans will be. And again, on that OMB website that I showed you, you can go check this. But I again recall in 2019 that containers were stacking up at the ports because it needs the customs folks need to be able to be involved in the process of products being imported to the United States. If they're food products or drug products, then USDA or FDA may have to be there for inspections. And the same thing may apply to exports. So I think it's rational to think that if there is a shutdown and if it goes on for more than just a day or two, that that will impact the ports for sure.
And I'm glad you brought that up. It's beyond just the local thing, but also the international community will have impacted the delays of certain things. So it does have a ripple effect of our economy on local level, state level, and global level. And just reiterate, Social Security will still be there, all right? That people who are receiving checks, it'll constantly be there. So there's no need for worry on that perspective. Is that correct?
And my understanding, again, I can't really speak for Social Security, I don't work there, but my understanding is that those payments are on automatic. So people that are receiving Social Security will continue to receive it. I certainly hope so, because my mother receives a Social Security check that she relies on. Um, there are, as I have heard in the press, there are some like food aid that is not on automatic. So there could be some of that is disrupted during a shutdown. Again, you could go to that website that I gave you at the White House webpage, the OMB page, and double check on that.
Yeah, and that I did share that in the chat box. I'll reshare that again. This is my questions, but I'm going to open it up and you can now unmute and start your video. If you have any questions that Tim can answer, pressing questions that would affect you or your business, or a general question that hopefully could be answered. So I'm going to leave the floor open a little bit. You have that privilege to unmute and start your video to make any comments or questions, and I'll leave it up. And then if not, then we'll go ahead and end early and give back 30 minutes of your time too as well.
And while you're thinking about a question, I just want to say I think it's just terrific that you all are here this morning, that you care about this, what's occurring, and you're trying to figure out how this could affect you as you're going forward with your business and your life. We hate that things like this occur, but I promise you that the second, if one occurs, the second it's over, the Houston SBA office will be back full force, getting caught up as fast as we can.
Yeah, and use the chamber to for any type of resources that we could provide in light of things that's going on, and we will try to be the voice of that to you. Any other questions here? It's still open. Text. As we just wrap up here, leave it open a little bit. Tim, just one last question. I think anything if there is one and it's a little bit of longer time and y'all come back, how can the chamber be mindful and assisting in this coming back, or how can the community be mindful and gracious to you guys too as well when you do come back online, if that's the case?
Well, that's a great question, and thank you for that sentiment. Um, the main thing that you could do if there is a lapse in appropriations is just let everybody know it's temporary. We will be back. We won't miss a beat when we get back, and we will look forward to getting back and helping all the small businesses in the best ways that we can. It's not doom and gloom. It's a situation we have to deal with, and then once it's dealt with, we will get back, and everything as far as SBA will get back to normal very, very quickly. So that's it. Just help reassure everybody that if this occurs, it's only temporary, and we'll be back as fast as we can.
Okay, well, thank you for those reassuring words. With that, I'm going to just close it out here. Let me just do some last minute, I guess you get comments. As we wrap up, we want to say thank you, Tim, for putting this together, being a wonderful resources and really strong community partner that we have, and your presentation was very useful for us. Again, I just want to say we have our upcoming orientation next Friday. We also invite you to celebrate the Spirit of Entrepreneurship Award in 3 weeks, October 20th. I put the links on that on the chat box for that. I encourage you guys to come and look at the resources that we have on our website. If you're not on social media and connected with us, we invite you to do that when you go on our website on the top right-hand corner. Thank you for spending this morning with us. Please reach out to the chamber if you have any questions. We're happy to help. This concludes our webinar. We hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and God willing that this shutdown will not be it will not happen, but if it does, it won't be as impactful as in previous years. With that, thank you very much. Thank you, Tim. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us. Have a wonderful time. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye. Thank you.